Hey, good morning. I thought I would do a fun live stream as I'm going for my morning walk this morning. On the topic of, was the U.S. presidential election hacked? Again, spontaneous live stream, not scheduled. I'm sure people will trickle in as the live stream continues. But this thought was spurred on. So let me first off walk you through how I landed on this would be a fun live stream. I had a friend who sent me a PDF, which was part of a legal proceeding from the U.S. presidential election. We'll call it follow-up legal proceedings, where I don't even know who created the legal briefing, but it was about 15 pages, and it was a cybersecurity forensic analysis of essentially the Dominion voting systems and the ways in, and I'm looking through this PDF, which actually I'm gonna, when this live stream is done, I'm glad you typed that. I want to talk to that in just a second. Sorry, I'm seeing on my phone, so Adam, thank you. So before I start responding to all the comments that are sliding in now, first off, my friend sent me this PDF that is a cybersecurity forensic analysis of the Dominion voting system. I'll put it in once I get back to my house, and it can put the link in the description. I will. So give me some time on that. So I'm reading through this, and I'm like, this is really interesting. Not only because I'm teaching a course on Security Plus right now, but I started thinking, as I thought about this live stream, I thought, we're in a world right now. Where logic and what I would call a scientific method is it's slidden by the wayside, and that's, I think, some of why everybody's like, 2020 is a world gone crazy. But let me give you one example of this. One of the people that I follow on social is Elon Musk, and just because I have a Tesla, and I think he's a really interesting guy, and he posted this thing on Twitter where he said, "Hey, I went and got tested for a coronavirus 4 times in one day. Same nurse, same machine." And he said 2 tests came positive, 2 tests came negative. And I was like, wow. And he goes, something's up. And the flurry of hatred that came at him for, like, the first comment, the most popular comment was, "How dare you make a comment like this?" And I was like, it was at that moment where I'm like, okay, logic and scientific process has gone by the wayside. It's now emotion. And so all that being said, let me say that as I thought about this live stream, I'm like, I bet you I'm getting a lot of comments where people are just going to say, how dare you? Or how can you even, you have, where's the evidence? Adam jump in, or things like that. And that's that. So let me start there. There is some really interesting evidence. I think the challenge, and what I would propose to you, is that most people don't want to hear or look or examine the evidence because there's such emotion tied to whomever. I'm not saying one or the other is right in terms of Biden or Trump. I'm saying right now, I'm not sure if people are really willing to examine the evidence, regardless of it. Like, so for instance, one more example, and then I'll talk about, was the election hacked from Jeremy's perspective, and walk you through my thought process. I remember when the election results first came back, and it was a little strange, and I think everybody agrees with that, how the results played out. And people said, did you know that, do you remember, do you guys remember when Dominion voting systems, it was first discovered? That Dominion voting system, like even the name, people are like, do you know what the voting system is called? Dominion. And immediately, like, there was this huge reaction of like, unbelievable, obviously, because it's called Dominion. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter what it's called. For me, and this is this is Jeremy, the technologist here. I didn't even know, like before, and I'm sure many people are like me, I didn't even know that voting systems were a thing. Like people use different voting systems. I always thought you take the ballot, you run it through something. I didn't know, I didn't care. I didn't even know that first off, the voting system was a private one. So let me start there. When I saw the PDF that kind of is a forensic cybersecurity analysis of all of the Dominion voting system, the first question that I was like, this is interesting. The states of the United States get to choose what platform they are able to use, right? Like they can choose Dominion voting system. They can choose, I don't even know what the other ones are. I don't know if you do either. They can choose whatever method they want to use to count the system. And so the first thing that I thought about is I thought, okay, Dominion voting systems, a private company, and states are relying on this private company. And so that's where this cybersecurity forensic PDF is that I'll again post in the description when I get back from my walk. It starts off there, and the first thing it starts off with as it's going through Dominion voting systems is it says Dominion voting systems uses outsourced coders. And immediately I go, bing, because I'm just teaching the material right now for the Security Plus series. And I thought, okay, that's one of the number one things that you think about is, okay, if there are literally millions of lines of code going into software, using software developers from other countries, okay, what countries are those? And that's where this forensic analysis goes, is it's like, these are actually communist countries that are using these. And then it starts going into searching like the Wayback Machine. Some of you guys know what that is, where anything you put on the internet is logged and held for forever, And so that's where they start looking at domain registrations and where is Dominion voting systems and then some of the polling systems based from. And there are actually servers tied in Iran and things like that. And again, what I'm not, so let me say it this way. And I know this could be a long drawn out conversation, but I'll say it this way. Maybe the right question is not, was the US election hacked? Maybe the right question is anyone even willing to look at the evidence and make that decision? Or have we turned, like I said when I started this live stream, have we turned into a country like where Elon Musk can post to Twitter and say, hey, I got tested for coronavirus 4 times in one day, 2 came back positive, 2 came back negative. And I mean, in a completely emotionally neutral way, other than he's like, something's wrong with this test. And the world explodes at the guy to where it's like, nobody's willing to go through the process of considering the evidence anymore. It's more of, this is how I feel about what you just said, and that becomes truth. So here's how I'll conclude my thoughts, because and I'll post the PDF after this. And so okay, oh man, my thoughts just exploded again. The PDF is a 15-page cybersecurity forensic analysis from a military investigator, and he's under under oath, under perjury, et cetera, created this document. It's like, hey, this is true as from what I found, but it takes a whole lot of time, a ton of time, to sit there and go through that PDF, especially if you're not a cybersecurity forensic analysis person, or specialist who has that knowledge to even for me, where I'm into cybersecurity, right? I teach this stuff, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh man, I gotta Google that. I gotta research that. Like, I don't understand what he's saying right here. Like, people see a document like that and they go, it's just a bunch of nonsense, because they don't understand it. And I'm looking at some of the chats where I just see Adam talking about Orion, and that's so there's another thing, SolarWinds. Holy cow, what a massive exposure that was, not just because there was a vulnerability, a blatant vulnerability found in SolarWinds that can allow access from the outside world, but more so that it has been going on for almost a year and nobody said anything about it because nobody knew about it, right? The person who knew about it and the individuals who knew about it had been exploiting it for almost a year. So again, what I'm not saying is here's what a lot of social media would do. See, the SolarWinds vulnerability proves the election was hacked. No, it does not. It does not at all. It's just one more piece of, wow, that's an interesting thing, and nobody's taking the time. Here's my end of this thought is, we're not going to solve was the election hacked on this call. It's not even the question. The question is, are we willing to put our emotion aside and say, okay, and that's what I think a lot of people are not willing to do, but are we willing to put our emotion aside and which presidential candidate we feel was best or not the best or whatever, and say, okay, I need to put that aside and detach myself and look at the evidence with a mindset of, was this election hacked? Because, and again, I'll put this is one of probably 100,000 PDFs or forensic analysis that has been done, but it's a good one. It's a really good one when you look at it, and it made me, as I'm looking through it, I'm like, that's a good question. There's no smoking gun in there, but I'm like, there's a lot of interesting things here that we should be asking the question about, right? So the answer is, was the election hacked? I don't think anybody knows right now. Maybe somebody does, but nobody's stepping forward and saying, I was the one that hacked it, or I can prove that this election was secure, right? And all it is a bunch of emotion that goes into a big pot where people are angry and not willing to take the time to look. So that's where I'll stop. I'll add the PDF to the description once I get back to the house. And by the way, guys, Happy New Year's! It's New Year's Eve. I'm gonna go pick up a bounce house. We do it every year for the kids. We rent an inflatable bounce house and spend the evening bouncing our life away. So with that said, great talking with you this morning. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Toss it in the description. Throw it in the chat, whatever. I'd love to hear your thoughts that need to come. And let me say that need to come from okay, man. I was like, I'm about to hit the end button. But was somebody chatting in on social media to say, if somebody says, was the election hacked? Yes, it was, or no, it's not, is not the right answer. It's not, there has to be some independent way to say, okay, we looked at the evidence, and without there's a lot of, I think we all agree, if we would open our eyes and look, there's a lot of stuff there that I'm like, that is weird that all the swing states at 2 a.m. suddenly shot up, hundreds of thousands of votes. I'm like, how did that happen? And what the resounding answer is, the resounding answer is they were all mail-in ballots, and those are all for one candidate. So the answer is no, it's not. That's not the answer. The answer is, let's take a step back and I'm talking from a technical perspective, because this is a technical issue for the most part. Don't talk about what it means. Don't talk about what do we do if that's the truth? Step one is tell yourself the truth.